Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for taking in my niece while my girlfriend is against it? I am 24 male and my now ex-girlfriend Sarah is 23 female. I live in a home my grandparents left me, which wouldn't be possible if I had to pay a mortgage, as I'm still new in my field. My older brother passed away recently, and left behind 2 children whose mother is out of the picture for good. The children are 11 male and 10 female, so this has happened during what I would call crucial years. My parents wanted to take them in, however, uprooting them from all they know would only make it worse according to their doctors. My parents are getting everything in order to move here, but that's going to take some time, and we're guessing around 6 months. Needless to say, I took them in. My ex has lived with me for about 4 months, while she was working on her master's degree, and she's been having a tough time with the program and working. Before my brother passed, Sarah asked if she could cut back on her hours, so she could focus more on her studies, and I didn't have an issue with it. Sarah is child-free forever, and was really upset that I was bringing kids into the house, when she felt there was a better option. We talked it over and couldn't meet anywhere in a compromise, so I told her it would be best if she leave. She refused, because she had nowhere to go according to her, and I explained the kids would be here permanently, so she needs to get her things in order. Sarah told me she wasn't leaving, and because of COVID, I couldn't evict her. However, after speaking to her school's legal department, she learned it didn't apply to her for several reasons. I didn't want to evict her. I get it, to be honest. If you don't want kids, you don't want kids. Nothing wrong with that. But I think there is something wrong with wanting to cause more harm to kids because you don't like them. Sarah's at a local YMCA, and I feel terrible about it, but didn't she chose this as some way? I tried to offer her the basement as a compromise. But yeah, kids can be loud and want attention. I just feel terrible here. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your house, your nephew and niece. She is an ex, who happens to be a roommate. You gave her a warning of their coming to give them stability, and she chose to be an A. It's on her if she stays or goes. I know evictions are still able to happen, where I'm located, but it is a longer process. Do you feel financially able to take on 2 preteens? Does your home have enough rooms for 2 separate adults and 2 separate kids? They are at an age they should have their own rooms. I think it's wonderful to help out family in need. Yeah. I mean, I'm not rich or wealthy by any means, but I have the money to take care of the kids. Their dad left them some money, which is in a trust that I can access if need be, but they get his survivor's benefits, which takes care of the extra groceries we need. I can handle everything else. My parents offered to send money too, but we're good. I really don't want Sarah here if she's going to look at the kids with disdain in her eyes. They don't need that. Not the a-hole. Your brother died. And instead of being supportive and trying to help you get through this tough time, she tried to dictate how to run your home, leaving 2 innocent kids homeless in the process. I understand not wanting children, but this is an extraordinary circumstance. She could have dealt with it for 6 months until your parents moved there permanently. She sounds like a terrible, selfish human being, and you're better off without her. I want to be child-free myself, but if you need to bring in nephews in circumstances like these, I won't mind. I think her idea of child-free is to hate children to the point she would rather be homeless than deal with them for a while. Not the a-hole. Sarah's an adult. The kids had even less choice in all this. If she just accepted that your reasons for putting them first were valid, even if she didn't want to be part of it, and focused on making other arrangements, there would be no a-holes here. Instead, she threw a tantrum and tried to overstay her welcome, and now she's dealing with the consequences. Which is a temporary inconvenience she'll get through, because again, she's, allegedly, the adult here. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my mom when she told me she would never let a man come between us? For starters, I just want to say I, 21 female, love my mom, 49 female. I think for the most part, she is a great lady, though she has a fear of ending up alone, which oftentimes means she stays with men too long and disregards us. Now this attribute wasn't too bad, until she met her now fiance David. David is not my cup of tea. Before my mom and him were together, my mother and I never fought, but David would constantly instigate fights between us for no reason. Literally, one time he told my mom I was being disrespectful for going to a school-sponsored event, and not getting home right on time because the buses were late. He also makes terribly rude remarks to my siblings and I, most of them being grossly sexist, homophobic, and ableist. My brother has a mental disability, which David perceives as him being lazy. He also makes rude remarks to my mom a lot, but does it under the guise of being nice or helpful, which basically means he says it with a smile. He was not very nice to his animals either, which I think is disgusting, but luckily he doesn't have any at the moment, so I don't need to worry. I told my mom from the beginning, when I was 17, that I didn't like him, and she told me she wouldn't sacrifice my happiness for hers. So now since I'm an adult, I usually just leave her be. The other day though, we were talking about a friend of hers who is basically emotionally abusing one of her kids to appease a man. My mom said, "Ugh, it's just terrible, I would never let a man treat my kids like that or come between us." Which I just laughed at. She got irritated at that and asked why I laughed, and I just said that she might not have been as bad as her friend, but David does treat us disrespectfully, which you have chosen to ignore. I told her it's fine now and you should hold your friend accountable, but you're also being a hypocrite. She freaked out, started crying and hung up. My brothers thanked me for saying something and said I was in the right, while my aunt called and said I'm an adult now, so it shouldn't be any of my concern what my mom does / who she dates. Which I guess is right. I don't know though, am I the a-hole? I didn't even think what I said was that bad, and so are all things I had said as a minor as well. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, being an adult doesn't mean what she did wasn't comparable to her friend. Stick up for yourself and your siblings, she has let a man get between your relationship. Thank you. That's kinda what I felt also. I had also told her these things as a kid too, so I don't know why she's so shocked now, lol. But thank you. Not the a-hole. This is called virtue signaling, and good for you to call her on it. You shouldn't go out of your way to be mean, you totally weren't, but don't let her revise history right in your face, lol. She seems very non-self-aware. Lol, she definitely is. I think she, like many others, likes to hold people accountable, without holding herself accountable sometimes. I don't know, but thanks for your vote. Not the a-hole. Tell your aunt, your mother is an adult now, and it shouldn't be her concern when her sister is rightly called on out being a pot calling a kettle black. Lol, that's true. I didn't really think of what a weird sentiment it was, that she believes that my mom is like exempt from ridicule, within her relationships at least, just because we're both adults. Like sorry, I didn't know that's how it works. I'll tell my mom that next time she tries to give me advice on boys. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not returning a 100-plus-year-old heirloom to my deceased wife's family? My wife's great-grandparents were missionaries in China. My wife's grandmother had a number of keepsakes from their travels, including a beautiful Chinese painting that hung in her house. Ever since childhood, my wife had loved that painting. I remember spending our first Thanksgiving when we were dating at her grandmother's, and her talking about how much she loved it. About 5 years ago, my wife's grandmother's health started to decline. The family, me, wife's sister and her husband, wife's father, helped her move into an assisted living facility. Because it was a small apartment, my wife's grandmother gave many treasured items to her son and grandchildren. Knowing how much my wife liked the painting, her grandmother gave it to us. About a year later, my wife's grandmother passed away. Her will did not mention the painting or any of the other items she gave away during the move. We hung the painting over our living room couch, and my wife loved it. Tragically, my wife passed away from cancer last month. Due to COVID, we had a very small funeral. It was the hardest Christmas I ever faced, though both her and my family were supportive. It may sound cheesy, but the painting helped. Knowing how much my wife loved it, it helps me to feel like she is still around in spirit when I was sitting on our living room couch by myself. About a week ago, my wife's sister came over to pick up a few small items she had lent my wife. She saw the painting, and asked me if I would give it to her to keep it in the family. My wife had some fertility issues, and as a result, we didn't have any children, though we had started the adoption process when she got her cancer diagnosis. I told her sister that the painting was an important reminder of my wife, and I wanted to keep it, though I would be happy to will it to her children when I died. Her sister said that I might change my mind if I remarried and had children of my own, and it would be better to give it to her now. She also said that her grandmother wouldn't have wanted me to keep it. I said I would think about it. I think she could tell how painful it was, because she didn't push the issue any further. Since then, my wife's father has called, and while he didn't focus on it, he did mention that he wanted to keep the painting in the family. However, the thought of giving it away feels a bit like losing my wife again. Am I the a-hole for keeping the painting? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, First of all, my condolences. Legally, I'm pretty sure the painting is yours now, as it was your wife's, and since she sadly passed, her belongings are yours as the survivor partner. Also, it's been a month since it happened, and these people want to take the painting? Like, did they forget about the person wife? Talk about being insensitive. Do what you think your wife would have done with the painting. If that is to keep and treasure it, so be it. Also, this might hurt, but from the comments, they said they don't consider you family. So, reflect on that too. Edit, lots of people are saying you should return it at some point. No. You can give it back, but it's yours. You can't return it because it's not theirs, you're not borrowing it, it's yours. You don't need to gift it back to that family. It left it once your wife got it, and became part of your family. If eventually you feel that you want to be generous and gift something to them, you can. But I repeat, you can keep that forever. You can get married/adopt and will it to your children. It's not theirs to demand or be returned to. Against the grain, you're the a-hole. It's sweet to have that reminder, but you were not the only person to lose your wife, or her grandmother, and your wife was not the only child to grow up with that painting in her childhood home. This is a family heirloom. It is very reasonable of her family to want it back, and no, I'll will it to your children is not enough. If I were the sister, I would want my kids to grow up with the painting in their home, just like I did, as a reminder of the legacy of their great-grandmother. If you give it to one of them, in 30 to 50 years when you kick the bucket, it won't have the same emotional connection. I get that you are hurting and don't want to let go of anything that reminds you so strongly of your wife, but you need to find other ways to keep her memory alive, because this one is selfish. I can't believe the not the a-hole judgments here, because it's legally your painting. This is am I the a-hole, not, am I legally allowed to be an a-hole? Edit to add, it's a very gentle you're the a-hole. I don't think you're an a-hole if you want to keep the painting up where your wife put it for a while longer, especially since it is helping you during this acute period of grief. And as you said, her family was supportive in the past, there's a good chance they would be fine with it too. But a year or two from now, it should really go back to them, not when you pass away in several decades. Morally, please give back the heirloom. You have other ways to remember your wife by. I agree with you, true. It seems not everyone appreciates the significance of family heirlooms. The responses are surprising, and a good reminder to set instructions on heirlooms prior to passing. My fiance would never think of keeping my family's heirlooms, as I would never think of keeping his. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not spending time with and money on my step-siblings while I do just that for my actual siblings? I am not sure if I am or am not the a-hole in this situation, however my parents and step-parents are in unanimous agreement that I am, so here we are, trusting strangers to give their judgment. I am 25 male, and I have 7 siblings, 4 of them half-siblings, 3 of them full. 2 of the full siblings are adults, 24 female and 21 female, and the rest are still kids living at their home. The oldest of whom is my other full sibling, 16 female, and the rest are half-siblings between the ages of 4 and 11, 2 are my dads and stepmoms, 2 are my moms and stepdads, and 5 step-siblings of whom 1 is an adult who is 20, and the rest are between 11 and 18. That's probably a bit of a mess, but I hope it is understandable. I lived mostly with my dad after my parents divorced, and would say I got somewhat close-ish with stepmom's kids, but they apparently consider me their brother, and I would not consider myself close at all with my stepdad's kids. As for my half-siblings, I have always made it a point to be in their lives, despite the big age gap, and I am close to all of them. Well, I put myself through college and graduated 3 years ago, got lucky and ended up in a great job, and now I am making really good money. I don't have big expenses apart from the basics like rent, so I end up saving up most of my money, and I spoil my siblings here and there. Added to that, when I am off work and not spending time with my girlfriend, I am generally spending time with my siblings and half-siblings, which is where the issue is. Turns out, the step-siblings are extremely jealous of that relationship, and my stepmom's kids have especially been flipping out, especially if I get my siblings expensive gifts. I got my youngest full sister, 16 female, an Xbox a while ago as an example. Apparently, they got so jealous they had a rage fit, since she would not make it a family Xbox. I have since been called into a family meeting with my parents and step-parents, at which they explained they are mad I don't do the same for my step-sibs, especially because they can't afford to themselves. I'll make good money, but a ton of kids means there is only so much to go around, When I declined and told them I have no obligation to do the same for my step-sibs, they asked me to at least take them along when I take my sibs places, which I again declined, since this means I am essentially forced to babysit and spend money on a bunch of kids I got nothing to do with, instead of just spending quality time with my actual siblings. Well then, the tears started, and my stepmom tried guilting me about how her kids consider me their brother, and when I didn't budge, it became one huge argument, at which point, I left. Everyone is united in telling me I am being the a-hole now. So here I am, looking for judgment by uninvolved parties. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, this is your time and your money, you spend it however you want, they are not entitled to it. But on the other hand, it is perfectly reasonable of your step-siblings to feel estranged. You don't treat them the same, they don't feel appreciated the same. Because they aren't. But I would think it would make sense considering I only lived with my stepmom's kids for a little over 3 years, and barely spent time with my stepdad's kids. Not the a-hole. When I declined and told them I have no obligation. That's the correct response to use. Good to hear lol, I thought it may have been too harsh. Not the a-hole. I understand from the parents' point of view, of making it even and fair. However, that's for the parents to do. You're the big brother and it's your finances, and you determine where your money goes. Slightly confusing about the step-kids. How old are they? One is 20 and no longer living at home, who pretty much feels the same as me and my full sisters do, and the rest are between 11 and 18. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.